Welcome back, creative peeps. We are going to do one more technique before I show you some of the additions that we can do. And this one is with the sprays. And I'm going to try to do it here on my good table without using a splatter box. Normally I use a box with the front cut off and put some paper towels down in it to do my sprays so that I don't get overspray on the other things, but I'm going to try to be careful here and do it this way. I do not have a lot of different colors of the sprays. I've got a couple oxides and a few of the regular distress spray stains, so I'm not going to get as good of a mix on these types of things, but we can get some here, and I'll show you. I'm probably going to mix both the oxides and the spray stains. With the oxides, you do need to shake them up because they have a pigment and dye mixed together in there. So, and just going to give a little bit of spray here. This is the spun sugar, and especially with any of them with the pigment in it or with mica in it, you want to wipe off the nozzle so that it doesn't get jammed up and clogged for you. Okay, whoa, there's a lot of picked raspberry here, and so I am probably going to pick some of that up this way. And go back and put some more of my light pink on top of that. And that just gives me a nice pink background. Now you notice when you spray that way onto a dry tag, you're going to have the spatter marks. Again, like what we did before, we can spray that and we can start to get some movement of our colors. This is going to be pretty one-toned though, because I haven't added anything else in yet. And my two pinks are going to mix together since I didn't dry between the layers. The other thing you can do is to spray your tag first, and you're going to get more coverage. Might be a little more water than I want. And let's start with the broken china. Notice how immediately it starts to wick away. The more water we add, the more it's going to move. Let's go in with our cracked pistachio. And move those. Again, I'm going to have another blue-green tag, but that's okay. Let's dry the pink one here. Let's pick up some of this. Let's find another blank tag. Again, like we did when we picked up the inks, we're going to spray it a little bit first, and we're just going to tap in a few areas and get some color moving on here. Do some drying. more here. And we're starting to turn it all green. There's some more blue. Okay. And give it another quick dry. See what happens if we would add some, oh, let's try some wild honey on this one. Go. Get some good movement there. Might be a little more than I want, so let's pick some of that up. I'd like to come back in with a little more blue on this one. Then because we've got the yellow on there, it's going to be a blue-green. But it's going to lighten it up for us a bit. Again, we are just playing and having some fun and seeing what we get. As Tim Holtz says, you get what you get, so don't throw a fit. This is the way we learn, this is the way we become better at our craft, and this is the way that we just learn to relax and enjoy what we do. Dina Wakely says the difference between her and a lot of people, she says you, in your crafting is that she divorces herself from the outcome. Oops, oh well. It's just about getting what you get and experimenting and seeing what you get. I'm going to try just a bit of this antique linen on our pink here and see what that does. The antique linen is just kind of a light tan color. I don't want to get too much of it on there, but just give a little bit of interest with our pinks. Move that around just a bit. Again, I don't want to get too much because I don't want a muddy brown. I want my pink to be focal here, but I want to get a little bit of variation in there. that a bit. I'll decide what we're going to do with this one and this one later. Any changes I want to make on them. I'm going to show you now some of the different things that I've done. I've already showed you how we can just add water droplets on there, and that can give a big change in the look on there. Another thing you can do is white splatters of either the white picket fence ink or a white watered down acrylic. Because this has the water reactive ink behind, the white turned the pink and purplish colors on the background of that. Another one that I did that on was this little bird here. This is one of our napkin decoupage. The back was very dark on this, but I just took the white paint and did some splatters, and that really lightened it up quite a bit. Another one like that, I had done a stamped background behind it. I wasn't real thrilled with that, so I did a napkin decoupage over the top of it, and I just took a wet paper towel or baby wipe and wiped over that, and that kind of brought the color out again. This one, the colors had really swallowed up the napkin, and I tried going it over with the crayon and with a spray, and I did not like the way it was coming out. So I just went over it with a wet napkin and just kind of scrubbed a bit. Not too hard because I didn't want to break the paper pulp down, but that brought back some of the color and took the background out a little bit. Some of these other ones that we did the other day, I really like how that one turned out over the background. With most of these, I've gone back and I've taken the foam brushes with the little pads. And I think this is always a great way to finish off the edges. The vintage photo is great for this, but if you want a little bit darker, you can go with the ground espresso or gathered twigs. If you want a little bit lighter, you could go with the tea dye. And there's one that I even used the black soot on. But again, ink up your foam and just finish off the edge by inking the edge a bit. Vintage photo has kind of been the long-standing favorite that most people do, just to kind of give a vintage look to it, but it just finishes your edge off a little bit. Obviously on this with the napkin, we've already got a focal point with the butterfly. We may want to add a little bit of embellishment, but we don't want to take away from that butterfly focal point we've already got there. This one, we've got the music in the background that we stamped. We've got our bird as our focal point. Again, we don't want to do too much to that to take away from that focal point. This one, the same thing. We've got our butterfly focal point. The stitching gives us a little bit of decoration. This one may be just done as it is. So these two, we have our focal point in the napkins, but they're going to need a little bit of embellishing. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do to them yet. We added the stamping onto this one. We added the color onto that one, but I'm probably going to add something more to those before I use them in something. Let's see what else we've got here. So this one, there's not much of a focal point there. We've got a lot of colors in there, but we're going to need to add something to be a pop on here, so that'll need a focal point. Same way with this one, there's nothing specifically in there that's drawing your eye to a certain point, so we'll add that. And this is the one that I edged with the black soot instead of the brown colors. This one, again, we've got an all over pattern, but there's no one focal point to draw our eyes, so we'll do something with that. Here's one that I made before, and I had just done several things. I'd done some background inking. I think it was spraying. It's either spraying or blending, and done some stamping on it, just playing around, but just adding my focal point there with a little bit of embellishment, bringing the stars out in several different places. So that's one way that you could finish something off. Here's some other ones that I did, and we'll talk about some of these techniques being added to it. This one was, I believe, sprayed, and then I did a stencil over it, and then I stamped with the archival permanent ink, so I like that. That stamp I did not care for. I heat embossed that, so I may just cut that off and use this as a different type of focal point, or I can always put something over that. This one was sprayed and then I stenciled. I think that's a stencil, not a stamp, that I did over that one. I'll get to that one later. This one, again, sprays, stencil, and a stamp over that. This one sprays and a stencil over it. Another sprays with a stencil. I think I was playing with stencils the days that I did this. Okay, these two, not tags, but they both came out very dark. I went over them with a wet paper towel and blotted them up. The other thing was I had tried to add the blue stenciling, or I think that was stenciling, not stamping, and it turned out very bright and stood out way too much. It wasn't a good background. So again, I took a wet paper towel and just went over that to put it back into the background. I will probably turn these into a tag or cut out more of a focal point, or just add a real pop of color for this one to be in the background. Those are the ones we just did. This one, again, I think it was sprays. It was either sprays or smushing, and then I stenciled in the ombre and variegated colors over the top of it. Again, not sure what I'm gonna do with it. I think those were both sprays. And then this one was sprayed, and then I put texture paste through a stencil and then sprayed the texture paste to color it before I lift the stencil. And I'll probably come back and show you how to add the texture paste and some of these other things, but just a few more ideas that you can do to deepen your backgrounds before, again, adding a focal point and any other further embellishments to it. So again, grab your supplies and just start playing, and I will be back with some more finishing ideas, or at least pictures of some of these things finished up before the end of the month, and we get started on next month's project. But like I said, basic thing that we're looking at here is making some foundations, learning to do some different techniques that we can use for foundations and backgrounds, and putting together a tag book of some of the different things that we've made that we may or may not turn into finished projects, but will just show us how to do different things. So enjoy your day of having fun. I hope you can get to that yet this weekend, to just have some inky fun, get messy, play, and be sure to show me what you've made over on our MeWe group or the Facebook group, or if you're on Instagram, be sure to tag us. The blog post has the tags there, but Freely Whole Creative are a couple of the tags so that I can see what you've made. And just go have a wonderfully creative day.